All right. Okay. Yes. Hello all. Okay. Yes. All right. The slides are under slides plus one. Slides plus one. Okay. Yes. Today's title is I identified some bright sparks. Identify some bright sparks, which I think is very important. So I would like to share with everybody these bright sparks, and yes, thank you. Thanks for those coming in and give a like. Okay, I would like to share some of these bright sparks, and these bright sparks I think could potentially be very impactful and maybe even life changing. Hello, She Tan. Okay, yes. Wow. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Finally get to see your live stream. Oh, really? Yong Jie. Oh, wow. Okay. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you. Okay. Yes. So thank you for everybody. You can get, for those on YouTube, you can get the slides from the description. You can download it. The second thing is that, remember, when you come in, hit subscribe and give a like as well. Same for those on Facebook as well. Give a like, share it. I think tonight's sharing a bit of history, a bit of history, a bit of insight, and more importantly, I found a bright spark. Okay, I found a bright spark, which I think could potentially be life-changing. Okay, yes. Oh, really? Okay, finally catch the live version real time. Is now the better time? I always do it at night. I thought night time would be better. Okay, yes. Okay, cool. So once you all get the slides, please sound me off. Today's talk, I think, will be about 35 45 minutes. Try not to delay everybody for your dinner. Okay. Happy Father's Day to everybody. Initially, I was thinking of doing a finance talk on fatherhood, right? Like what a father should do about taking care of kids, your responsibility, blah 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 blah. But later, yeah. Thank you. I thought that the interesting finding is more important. Terence, hi Lou, just supporting your channel. Thank you. Okay, happy Father's Day to you. Happy Father's Day to all fathers. Okay, I think fatherhood is a very sacred, very 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 enjoyable, very tall order. A lot of people take fatherhood as some huge responsibility and things like that. Then you're not really enjoying fatherhood, right? I enjoy every bit of my fatherhood. It's very interesting. I just a little bit of small talk before I go to finance. While you all download the slides, okay? So the day I got a phone call from a little kid, and when a kid picked up very small, I think only 3-4 years old or 5 years old only. Okay, so the kid actually said, "Hello, Papa. Okay, what time are you coming back home?" Okay. By the way, people can see you in the reflection of TV, but it's okay, right? Yeah, say hello to everybody. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Okay. By the way, this is my wife B. Okay. Okay. Hello. Yes. Thank you. So the kid called me and said, "Hello, Papa. What time coming back home?" Obviously, it's the wrong number. Okay. But I was like, oh, that sounds so much like Kate Lou when she was very young. Kate Lou when she was young will call me, "Hello, Papa, what time coming back home?" And I'll say, I'll tell Papa is working and things like that. Wow, then then kid will be, "Oh, you come back home now and play with me," that kind of thing. Yeah. So then I was like, "I'm busy now, I'm gonna come back later," blah. Then after I'll rush back and then I'll play with the kids and things like that. It's very nice and heartwarming to receive such phone call. Obviously, it's not my kid, but it just have this reminiscence of, I just want to tell everybody, treasure every moment of your fatherhood. Okay, treasure every moment. I've enjoyed my fatherhood when my kids were so small. Can hold on the palms. And as I grow older and older, up to now, Piang is so tall already. I still enjoy those fatherhood moments. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Very sweet. Okay. So have you all downloaded the slides? I haven't seen everybody giving a like on YouTube. Okay. Facebook. Okay. Then I'll start right now. Okay. Cool. All right. Oh, okay. So I was researching what's trying to have an understanding what's going to happen moving forward in this great inflationary environment. And this is what we call a stagflation, where there's an economic slowdown and there's a great inflation. And I've told you all before that this mirrors the 1970s to 1980s. So this is a history repeating again. But shouldn't it be logical that when history repeats, you watch what happened to history and gain some insights from history, right? Someone actually wrote and just said that, no, Mr. Lu, you never lived through that period, or you're still a baby then. How would you know about that period, right? But that's what economists do, right? We look back at history, we analyze what are some of the things that happened, the positive and negative, and we try to use that to predict forward, right? And we analyze things even up to 1800s or 1700s, right? And gain insights from there. And I hope that would give you a feel of what is coming ahead, and then we can react accordingly. So tonight, I found an interesting finding, and that will come in the last part. Video got stuck. I have no idea what's wrong with the video, okay? Yes, just bear with me. The internet in this rundown hotel is pretty bad. And everybody seems to be very concerned about B's reflection, okay? But she's just walking around packing things and things like that. It's okay. Yeah, okay. Right.
Like ghost?
No.
Is it because you look like a ghost?
No. No, just in case you're changing or something like that.
Oh.
Okay, no lah. Okay. Yes, but okay. So I found some bright sparks. I'm going to share them, and that's actually in the later part of my talk. But let's think of what's essentially my talk today, which is the 178th talk. It's about what's going to happen moving forward, okay? Lessons from 1970s great inflation. And by the way, it's 1970s great inflation. That great inflation lasted to 1980s. So it's not just in the 70s. In fact, 1968 all the way to 1980s. It's that long, It's that long. It's quite frightening to think about it, okay? First of all, some usual disclaimer. This talk is not a buy or sell advice. It's more to give you an insight and for entertainment purposes and for history. Okay. So I've said before. Okay, the current inflation resembles that of the Great Inflation in the 1970s. Has a lot of resemblance, right? What we have is the oil prices shooting up. And one of the cause, and not the only cause, of the great inflation of the 1970s was that the oil prices shot up tremendously, largely due to what we call the OPEC embargo. There was some Middle East conflict, and in the 1970s there was some Middle East conflict between Israel and the Arab country, and US sided Israel. As a result, the OPEC we saw, and they curtailed back the oil, and the oil prices shoot up. Today, we don't have it all started usually with war and conflict. Okay, we now have Ukraine and Russia having some conflict, shoot up a lot of things, right? So has some resemblance. And the similar thing is that we have a period before that where there was easy money, where the Federal Reserve were printing money like crazy, and that happens in the 1970s as well. And they were printing money like crazy, and all these things culminated together in one great inflation. Not everything is similar. They did not have COVID then, okay? They did not have supply chain blockages and things like that. So we do have quite a lot of resemblance of the great inflation of the 1970s. At that point in time, food prices went up like crazy, okay? Like crazy. Food prices went up crazy. How long did the price spike? Okay, I got a chart here that says this. You probably can't see it. You will download the slides under slides +1. You'll be able to see it. The inflation grew in the late 1960s. It shot up all the way to 1980s. It did come up, come down, come down. Okay, but it went all the way up. Why did it shoot up and come down? Shoot up and come down. The first two waves is quite interesting. One down, one down. Okay. Because the president then were trying other means of trying to curtail inflation, using price control, using other means to do it, okay? Using what I call very artificial means of controlling inflation. That worked. So the price went down. But the minute those price control lifted, it shoot to the roof again. Yeah, so those are not very effective means of controlling prices. And as a result, we do have a phenomenal, up and down again. And which reminds us that if we do not have a strong resolve in the policymakers' mind to kill inflation, we're going to see this spike up and down, and then the whole market will go up and down again, right? So it depends on what the policymaker do to cut down inflation. It might not lead to an immediate resolution of inflation. So it's very important to see what the policymakers do. And I'll give you some insight to what the policymakers do that are right and wrong, especially on the right side, okay? So what are the lessons from 1970s? What are lessons from 1970s that I think is important for everybody to know, okay? The first one. Now, right now we have got two damaging things that are coming. One is a general inflation where prices all shoot up. And then we have a market slowdown and potentially causing unemployment, causing a lot of unemployment and causing a lot of the businesses to slow down. Which one is more damaging? Which one? Anybody? Okay. Which one is more damaging? Is inflation more damaging or recession more damaging? Anybody will have any insights? Okay. And please also try to explain why. Okay. Which one is more damaging? Inflation or recession is worse? Anybody? Okay. Inflation or recession is worse? Okay. Anybody have any insight? I don't see any comments at all on YouTube. I don't know whether YouTube is working. Okay. Is YouTube working? Can you all hit a like so that I know you guys are working? Are working? Yes. All right, cool. Facebook working well? All right. Recession is worse. Globalization is not today. People still at home grow their own food. Okay. Inflation, more job working. Inflation, poor be price. Inflation take longer. It's working. All right, cool. Okay, thanks. Okay. If job is lost, life cannot be maintained. All right, cool. Recession. Yeah, I used to think that recession is far more damaging than inflation. Okay, until I look at what happened in the 1970s. You take note, okay, in a recession, even in US, Singapore don't even have this kind of environment. In Singapore, in recession, at most the unemployment go up to 3, 4, 5%. Rarely go down to like the 1980s, 10%. Okay, rarely. In the US in 2008, the unemployment shot up to 10%. Okay, but it's only 10% of people who got hit. So out of 10, 1% kena. The other 9 still have a job. Yeah, maybe the job doesn't pay as well. But in inflation environment, everybody kena. Whether, and you cannot escape, whether you are rich or poor, whatever, all kena, okay? You can say, oh, the rich can tahan it, which is true. But in a recession environment, all will kena, okay? So the impact of recession is usually kind of like, limited to, the worst impact is limited to debt of about 10% or less. But when you kena a inflation, everybody kena, okay? So therefore, when policymakers have to make a decisions in the past, they were trying to balance both. I want to make sure we have price stability and not have unemployment and things like that. Then they realized that an inflation has far more outreaching damage than unemployment, and that's why the resolve, okay, must be to tackle inflation first. Yeah, okay. Inflation must be tackled first. So therefore, if you look at the graphs, right, the unemployment rate, okay, in US then was max about 10%, but the inflation, the inflation was about 10%, but the unemployment is about max 9% or something like that. So the impact is quite different. Now we have seen the Federal Reserve now going all out to cut down inflation by increasing interest rate. The question is how high and how long. Okay, how high and how long. Let's look at what happened in the US in the 1980s. Why I say 1980s? Because Paul Volcker, the central bank Federal Reserve chairman then, only came in around 1980s, 1981 or 1980s. Okay, he came in and then he spiked. Okay, he cut down money supply and spiked the interest rate to the roof. Well, okay, the interest rate went up by how much? Okay, I know you can see now. The interest rate went up all the way. The chart here, okay, went up to 20%, 20. Happy Father's Day to all. So thanks, Shailin. Okay, the interest rate went up to as high as 20%. 30 years fixed mortgage rate went up to as high as 17%. Okay, so interest rate really shoot up to very, very high, and it's scary. Okay, how long did it last? Okay, how long did it last? I think it lasts for close to 2 years. By eyeballing the curve, lasts for 2 years. So and then it come down slowly and gradually. So it can happen. It can happen for a prolonged period of time, and it can happen very, very high. In short, the headline says this. Okay, interest rate needs to be very high to tame inflation. Our current inflation, they are running right now is high. The interest rate they are throwing at the problem right now may not work if it's just 0.75, 0.5%, slowly bit by bit now. It may not be strong enough to work. We must be psychologically prepared that more interest rate rise is to come. Good evening. Okay, good evening to you, Suting. Okay. I think it is a foregone conclusion, and I think Paul Volcker came to the conclusion in the 1980s, and I think Jerome Powell, which is the Federal Reserve chairman, must have come to the same conclusion that as Paul Volcker, as I've came to the conclusion as well. Okay, they're all very smart people, a million times smarter than I am. It is impossible, nearly impossible, to balance price stability and low unemployment. It's nearly impossible. You look at the graphs here. It basically says that when you have high inflation, it can only be cut down by high interest rate. And when you have high interest rate, unemployment is going to rise. Okay, it's as simple as that. The more we try to balance an impossible act, the longer inflation is going to go on. So I'm pretty certain that I'm not the only one that can come to this conclusion. The Federal Reserve must be able to come to this conclusion very soon, and they will hit hard on inflation. Okay, yes. Very interestingly, a lot of people ask me, so property, what happened to property prices? So when mortgage rate rise, property price should come down. Yeah. So very interestingly, I look at the 1970s and 1980s. Even when the mortgage rates were very high, the property prices didn't collapse, which I thought they would. Okay, logically so, right? So when the mortgage rates were like 20% or things like that, many people must be dying, right? But the property prices didn't collapse because there were two effects. One effect is there's costs probably go up is inflation. In inflation environment, people just buy property, okay, as a hedge. But on the other hand, the mortgage rates went high, causing affordability to go down. So it has got two countering effects. So I cannot say for sure this time it will happen again. But looking at 1970s to 1980s, the property prices didn't collapse, but in fact, it went up strongly. So, and I've shown you this article before, I'm going to say again. When Paul Volcker ruled the Federal Reserve, people thought they would never be able to buy a home. Yeah, okay. When interest rates were, for everything in the 1980s, rocketed, including home mortgages, rose to the high teens, it was an era where it's common for sellers to help buyers pay for their home by letting them assume their mortgages. Seller pay buyer. Wow, seller pay buyer. Those were the times, So it is very interesting to see this phenomenon. Like everybody in YouTube, please. Okay, please. Father's Day, give a like. Okay, yes. Along this line of thought, Jerome Powell, the chairman, and all these have implications in Singapore, by the way, okay? he issued a housing warning. He actually issued a housing warning 4 days ago. He says that home buyers need a bit of reset. I actually quote him, need a bit of reset. Okay, what he's saying is that he acknowledged that it's a tough situation for buyers right now, and we need to get back to a place where demand and supply are back together. So in short, he's warning that the housing market is going to go into a period of uncertainty. So in times like this, he actually asked everybody, just tahan a little bit, okay? And I suppose he's trying to say hold back until a time where demand and supply come. He's actually predicting that with the rise in interest rate, home prices will come to a slowdown or even decline. Will it happen to Singapore? Chances are, if UK and US, okay, were to come down, then the same will happen in Singapore. A very difficult escape, okay? Yes. In all governing, in fighting inflation, in economics school, we always learn that there is a role for the government, there's a role for the central bank, and these two are not related. They are independent of each other. And then the government can do something and the central bank can do something. In Singapore, you tend to never even think of the word central bank because it don't even exist. We have this thing called MAS, okay? And then and more or less MAS listens to the government, and the other one is the government. But in US, these two organizations are actually different. Okay, these two organizations are actually different and they are independent. In fighting inflation is largely a role of the Federal Reserve, the central bank, and less of the role of the government. Okay, so in Singapore, when we count on the government, well, it's a unique country, but in US, okay, in US, and the US unfortunately will have far-reaching impact all the way to Singapore. In US, fighting inflation is largely a central bank role, and it's the same in Singapore as well. You're going to count less on our government to fight inflation. They're going to do whatever they can to offload some of the pressures of it. But the real party that can fight inflation in the world is going to be a central bank, and it's largely and squarely landing on the lap of the central banker. And in Singapore, what is the role of the central bank to fight inflation? What instrument do they have? There's no point increasing interest rate, decreasing it, because we have got our country is so tiny that we are price taker for almost everything. If inflation comes, we all increase lower interest rate will have no impact on the prices, except maybe on property. But we have got one powerful tool which we use aggressively again and again and again over the years. That's called a powerful Singapore dollar. Okay, so therefore, my prediction is that our central bank will continue to keep a very strong Sing dollar. Okay, very strong Sing dollar, and they have stated again and again that MAS will go for more aggressive Sing dollar policy tightening as it raises inflation forecast. So because almost everything that we buy are imported, right? Including a lot of you guys are also imported, right? I'm also technically imported. My grandfather come from China. So technically we are offsprings of imports. Right? So everything is imported. And the way to fight import prices is to have a strong Sing dollar. And when the Sing dollar goes up, okay, what happens? Things that you can buy become cheaper. All of you will find that, wow, go holiday damn show. That's why, wow, the whole Singapore is out there traveling right now. The whole of Europe right now full of Singaporeans. I kid you not, our country is so small. You go to one shop, in a boutique, wow, half the shop or whole shop is all Singaporeans. It's amazing, man. Right? How did that happen, right? So yeah, right. It's the SGDNER, okay? So thank you. So in short, we do have a powerful Sing dollar to curtail this, except to US dollar, because US dollar is a national reserve currency. It's a international reserve currency. So a lot of it are actually being attracted. Okay, a lot of it are being attracted by high interest rates. So the US dollar will likely continue to be strong. So Sing dollar for US is now very strong, 1.39 or something like that. But in the case of Sing dollar versus the euro versus the ringgit versus Chinese renminbi versus all these other guys, most likely they will come down. Okay. So so I would expect a Sing dollar go up. A lot of people are speculating in currency. I would say that the next period is going to be a period of volatility. I wouldn't suggest you touching the currency, okay? The stock market is likely to react very positively to strong resolve from strong leadership from the central bank, okay? This guy who smokes a lot, his name is Paul Volcker, okay? Paul Volcker, and actually, okay, unfortunately, I'm not a central banker, but his head 跟我有点相像 okay? Okay, but I don't smoke. And surprisingly, he dies at 91 years old, right? So a lot of people, I disagree about smoking, but I've seen a lot of smokers live very long. I also don't understand, okay? And I know there are all the bad things about it, but jokes aside, when he came in, he actually, was the first central banker that whacked the inflation really hard by driving up interest rate by cutting our money supply. And he has no qualms of causing a recession. His mind really know it's sure die and the recession sure come. But let's kill inflation once and for all, nail the coffin on the head, nail the coffin, how do you say that? Nail the coffin on the,
What?
put the
Last
nail,
nail in the coffin.
huh?
Last nail in the coffin.
Last nail in the coffin, bam, 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 bam. Really, get rid of inflation once and for all. The whole stock market rallied, Yes, it collapsed for a little while, but it rallied tremendously. I'm going to show you in a short while, okay? The key is to see whether 3% has that resolve, okay? The first person is Jerome Powell right now. Does he have the same resolve as Paul Volcker? The good thing is that Jerome Powell always said, 我很看得起, Paul Volcker. By the way, Paul Volcker is so good that even Goh Chok Tong during the Asia financial crisis invited him to be a consultant for Singapore, no? Yeah. So Paul Volcker is not some nobody. He's really like one of the most brilliant geniuses, central banker. So the question is whether Jerome Powell has the same resolve as Paul Volcker, and Janet Yellen, which is the Treasury Secretary, like Finance Minister in US, and of course President Biden, they all collectively has the same resolve. If they all have the same resolve, we can take the signal that this thing will be over soon, and then how high will the rebound? Let me show you. Okay, this is where I found the greatest insight of the day. Okay, if you're waiting for a whole moment, this is the moment. Okay, this is the moment that you've been waiting for today, and this is my birthday. Wrong. This is my Father's Day, a gift to all fathers. Okay. This is the S&P 500 graph. I don't think you can see how to show you. Wow, like that. Can't see the graph. Okay, I think I know how. I'm going to darken it a little bit. Just give me a moment. Okay. Yeah, okay. So if you look at my graph here, okay, this is a period here where Paul Volcker just came in. Paul Volcker just came in at this point. And what did he do? He said, Lim Pei is going to kill inflation. And then he actually faced a lot of resistance from a lot of Federal Reserve presidents. They have to get votes buy-in for everybody. He found that it was actually quite difficult to tell everybody increase interest rate. So what he did was that he managed to get agreement to cut down on money supply. Okay, so it's the same effect that when you cut down money supply, the interest rate goes up. Okay, think of it like when money supply get cut down, this is demand for money and supply for money. Money supply cut down, the price, which is interest rate, will go up. Okay, so that's exactly what he did. He spiked the interest rate to the roof. The whole market crashed by how much? This is where everybody, Mr. Lu, how much will the market crash by? I don't know, but let's look at 1980s. Okay, so the market crashed by roughly 40%. S&P 500 by 40%. That's very interesting, right? Okay, I'm not saying that it will repeat again, but at least there's the benchmark there. And those days, the interest rate spike were far worse than right now. Here now, crash by 20%, people go, Mr. Lu, what to do? The kind of thing. Those days, market crashed by 40%, okay, 40%. And that was bad. But when he did that, what happened? when the market went down, but so did the prices. It was the first sign that a strong resolve and strong action by a central banker could kill inflation. Inflation went down to 2%. What happened after that? Look at the stock market rise. Woo! Poor! Right? That's from mid-1980s. It shot up all the way in 1985. I don't know by how many folds, 3 folds. Okay, 3 folds, Bam! Bam, 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 bam. Amazing, man, amazing. 3 folds. Okay? So even if you bought at the highest just before the crash here, okay, it will still go up by 2 folds. The resolution of the problem, okay, the problem even haven't resolved yet, but because of what Paul Volcker did, the market reacted at the first sign of a resolution of the inflation problem. The whole market shot up, and it shot up phenomenally. Okay, so as you can see right now, yes, the market did crash when interest rates spiked, and they spiked up phenomenally. But when the inflation problem got controlled by a strong resolve by the central bank, it shot up, and over the next few years, it shot all the way to 1987 before the next crash again. And that's a different crash in 1987. Okay, so it's like, with this insight now, what would you do? With this insight now, what would you do? Maybe get some comments from everybody. Okay, essentially, I saw this. Wow, that's a great insight, right? I now know. The really question right now is, what would you do? A lot of people are pulling out now. Okay, pulling out now. A lot of people are avoid. Okay, how long did that take? The killing of the interest rate rise. I think. Let me see. Just eyeballing it. Okay, probably a year. Yeah, a year and a half. A year to a year and a half. Okay, I haven't analyzed exactly which month. Okay, to do it. Someone said continue DCAing and put more and keep more dry powder. DCA, and whenever there's a huge drop, DCA more. Whack when there's a 40% drop. Okay, and things on. Okay, at that time there's no war. Well, yes, there was a war. Okay, one of the reason that caused the whole spike was the Middle Eastern War. That's the Yom Kippur War between the Arab and Israel. Okay, and that caused a huge oil crisis. Okay, it is, although the war didn't last that long. Okay, DCA more, yes. Okay, avoid big purchase and save, yes. Okay, I think these are all right. Okay, which month will it repeat? I don't know for certainty, right? But with this, it gives me confidence that if history were to repeat again, we will see this whole thing again. But we need to first ascertain that is Jerome Powell the same man with the same resolve. If it's not, are we in the 1965 or now are we in the 1980s? If it's not the same resolve, what will happen is that this is going to drag on for 10 years, But if this guy has the same resolve as Paul Volcker, this thing will be over, in a year or so, because the inflation has not gone to a point as bad, as deeply entrenched as what it was. It's just like weight loss. I told this many times. Weight loss, the minute you gain weight, if you whack the next few days with strong exercise, control a diet, whatever, the weight loss is very fast. But if you let your weight gain for a few months, to lose that take inhuman effort, because your weight, like your fats, become cement already. You're going to chip off the cement very tough. It's the same for inflation. When the inflation was first spiked, if you nail the coffin on the head at that point in time, whack it really hard, then we will see it coming down really fast. But if you let it linger and linger and linger, like what happened in the 1960s and 1970s, wow, piang, they have to shoot all the way to 20% to kill it, So if it drags on for 10 years, it'll be a disaster, right? So what are the things happen? My take, okay, this is just, right, we're all in scenario planning right now. You see, a lot of you are asking, Mr. Lu, what is the pinpoint prediction? What is the pinpoint prediction of what's going to happen? Hell, I know lah. Alamak. But what I can do is to paint scenarios. And when the scenarios are there, then we say what is the most likely scenario with hitting the nail on his head. Sorry, I'm more bukao ho, cannot figure out that one. So look at all the possible scenarios and say this is a very likely scenario with these possible swings, right? I think that's the approach how we should take so that we're prepared for various scenarios. So the approach I'm trying to tell you is not what I don't know. A lot of people telling me this YouTuber say this, YouTuber say that, this people that okay, they are better than I am. Okay, I think all of them are better than I am. They can predict with incredible pinpoint accuracy what's going to happen. I can't. But what I do is that I'm going to give you all the scenarios and I'll tell you what's a likely scenario, but we prepared for the other possibilities. So if we look at the signals right now, I would say that, I think the chances of it dragging 10 years is low because I think the Federal Reserve right now have the hindsight of the lessons of the 1970s, and Jerome Powell and his people seems to be very inspired by Paul Volcker. Okay, so what I think he would do is that they would whack inflation really hard. All of us will suffer very badly for a short while. Then hoping will come to pass. That's where I think he would do. Okay, and if he does that, and once we read the signal, he does that, then we know the market has hope. In fact, the market has reacted again and again whenever he has strong resolve to do that. Okay, so my guess, I'm very optimistic with no 100% certainty that I think he will do whatever it takes to resolve the inflationary problem. Okay, and we'll go through a period of pain, which is what we're seeing here. Then if that were to happen, wow. Okay, wow, right? Now, if he, tap the brakes, then let go, tap the brakes, let go, tap the brakes, let go, I might, do the kind of brakes, you're playing car, have you ever driven in a causeway before to Malaysia, and then you got to fight with the Malaysian drivers, you got to try to cut in, speed up, wow, then tap brakes, then very painful. If the central bankers are like that, then this thing will drag for very, very long, right? Okay, yes. So I think that's the resolve, okay? So I thought that's a very interesting insight for Father's Day. I'm going to take the view that, while all these are possibilities, I'll take a view that most likely by reading the signals, this is what's going to happen. Just continue to do what I've done, okay? Yes, I didn't tell you what you should do, but I'm very open to what I've been doing, right? So I think this is the way to do it, okay? All right, I'll take some questions and then everybody should go for their Father's Day dinner, okay? Yes, any questions? And then after, yes. Anybody have any questions? Okay, I hope you find this insight useful. Even if he raised interest rate to unprecedented high level, the supply chain, the Ukraine-Russian war, COVID lockdown in China, will it still cause inflation? If you whack it really hard, then demand will come down phenomenally. Then you will solve quite a lot of inflation. Okay, so yes, those problems will not go away totally, but at least on demand side, you solve quite a lot of problems. Can you advise how much drop that we should do this year or tranches are? I think it's very difficult to give you a mathematical formula. Normally, what I do is that I watch the signals and say there's a big fear and panic, and then market drop like crazy. That's why I go in one tranche, and I kind of limit myself to 2 shorts a month max. Okay, even though market currently crash a lot, but trying not to do more than 2 shorts a month. So I fire 1 short, 2 shorts. So roughly each month, 50 to 100K kind of thing. Yeah. So yes, Singapore, yes. Thank you. Okay. Is it not wise to do investment now? Should we invest in fixed deposit? I can't tell you what you should do. Okay. But money in the bank now is eaten up by inflation as well. Everything is bad, right? So I'll prefer to take my chances in the stock market after I form a financial safety net. Okay. I worry that politics will let happen midterm this year and Biden not having strong support. That's also one of my concerns as well. If they go this start, then we're liao. Okay. Yeah. So why Singapore stock market seems resilient so far? Yes, everybody says it is resilient. No, it's not resilient. The Singapore stock market didn't even go up. If it didn't even go up, why is there's nothing to come down? Yeah. The Singapore stock market since 2007 until now has crashed like that. It stay at this point for years really. So some people say, oh, why the market never crash anywhere? But it never even go up. How to come down? Yeah, you understand? So at the same point, this is the same point in 2007. The market for the US have gone up by 3 times. Yeah. Do you see Sing dollar strengthening further against currency? Oh, it's exactly one of the slides. Yeah. You can see it. Okay. Yes, I do. Maybe not against US dollar. Only Singapore banks still solid, and Singapore bank will become more solid because interest rate have gone up a lot. Singapore stock market start to drop. I think in the inflationary environment where there's recession, I think that everybody will still be hit. Follow the trajectory. If no COVID, what will S&P 500 be right now? I can't tell you, man. It's difficult to guess. What if, right? Grab price, share price, super chala. That's why I say stock picking is very dangerous. I would avoid stock picking at all costs. Yes. Do you think it's wise for self-employed to top up SA using cash? No. I think everybody, regardless whether self-employed or not, should top up your SA. Yeah. But even you're self-employed, you have to pay yourself CPF, right? Yeah, there's no difference. Yes, you should top up your CPF SA. SA will be impacted since interest rate is increased, of course. Okay. Singapore stock market is the dead pool. Singapore stock market, you have to look for bright sparks and big stocks, which I'm no expert in that. That's why I avoid it. How did the Great Depression recover? Another world war? Great Depression of 1929 is a totally different animal altogether. Okay. Great Depression of 1929 was resolved by Keynesian policies. They call it John Maynard Keynes, of a great professor, actually came up with very powerful policies, and that was where President Franklin D. Roosevelt was an incredible president, and they used fiscal policies to do it. The world is very different then. The prices was very low. There was instead of inflation, deflation. So that's probably a topic for another day. It's not the same environment as today. Okay. Bags will become cheaper because Sing dollar is cheaper. Yeah, hopefully. But the bag prices also shot up. But I see a lot more companies right now go on sale for selected items again, which is what BE showed you all just now. So while general prices are increasing, but because of recessionary pressure, a lot of sale are happening right now. So this is exactly one of the slides I share with you guys. Okay. How would China market turn out? I think we're ready. China market is very unusual. It's a lot of policy impact and risk and all this, and the government policies of China is very unpredictable. So I can't tell. STI was 3,500 in 2008. Fast forward to 2002 is 309. STI was not 3,500. STI was 3,800 in 2007. So the crash was phenomenal, and they still have not recovered. Why is it possible for the US have such great deficit and still be viable? Sorry, this is economics. Because their deficit is all funded by their own printing of money, and the whole world is using the US dollar for the reserve currency for international trading. So 每个人买他的账. Yes, that's why it's possible. Yes. But if they have great deficit in Sing dollar or in China renminbi, then they'll die. Okay. Happy Father's Day. Okay. Yes. Okay. All right. Okay. Good. Okay. I shan't hold everybody back from your wonderful Father's Day dinner. Okay. And everybody, just, 3,000 points. Yes, Henry. Yeah. I remember because, those days I was still crazy about Singapore market. Yes. All right, cool. Okay, with this, first of all, for those people on YouTube, please, before you go, give me a like. If Father's Day, can you like, 可怜, give me a like so that the YouTube algorithm will spread more people. Yes, thank you. Okay, thank you. And you have to log in to do that. And then hit subscribe and the alarm bell so you know when I go on live. Yes, thank you. Yes, I certainly will go for a great dinner later. Okay. Yes. Okay. Great. Okay. I hope this is an interesting insight. I think it's a bright spark. It at least affirmed myself that what I'm doing is correct. What I'm doing is correct, and I'm continuing to DCA in because when the recovery happens, it will be a phenomenal recovery, right? Phenomenal recovery. So I'm just preparing myself for the day happen. The only thing we need to watch out is whether the Federal Reserve have the same resolve as Paul Volcker to kill inflation and tame inflation once and for all. Okay? All right. I hope that's a great insight for everybody. We will see you again, okay? Yes, have a great Father's Day to all fathers. Happy Father's Day to you. I hope you have a wonderful time with your family. Really, being a father is one of the greatest joy and honor in your life. Really, kids are a blessing. Kids are a gift from God. It's a blessing to you. Really treasure that. Really treasure this time with your kids, okay? I have a great time talking to my kids just now. Okay, cool. Okay, happy Father's Day. Okay, all right, cool. Okay, thanks to YouTube as well and to Facebook. Facebook later, we'll see you later at 9 p.m. Okay, where B will turn on 8 plus 9 p.m. Have a great dinner first. Okay, yes, yeah. Look forward to a great day. Good. Okay, yeah. I work my life. My biggest life goal in life is to be a good father. Biggest life goal. I put my whole heart and soul into this life goal. Far more than money and far more than businesses and far more anything else. Yes. Okay. Good. Okay. Good. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Angela. Thank you and sorry for the experience that you had. Okay, Angela. Okay. Yes. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Actually, 要不是你，我没有看到我的 staff 在 bad mouth 我。Yes. 气死我了。Yes. All right. Cool. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Thank you. Okay. Good night, everybody. Okay. Good night. Okay. Thank you.